What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the WARFRAME video. So, got a for fun discussion video today. I'm going over some prime weapons I think deserve Incarnons because they're really just not as good as some other stuff they have gotten Incarnons in 2023. There will be 5 new Incarnons this year according to the top DE devs, so I'm just trying to predict what might be coming up here. Before we get into it and just go over the speculative for fun list and video, make sure you're sub to this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads. Also, I'll be live on stream farming the Profit Taker in probably like 30 minutes after this video goes up, maybe like an hour. So if you want to farm some Profit Taker, come on, stop by. Also be doing some other stuff too, but yeah. Alright, so this list will be going over just prime weapons. Now, if you don't know what an Incarnon is, I'm going to go ahead and show you what like the basis of this is. So, you remember, if you've been playing this game for a while, you might remember the Burstin Prime from way back. This thing was pretty normal. Like, it had 18% crit chance, 30% status chance, pretty normal numbers here. But then once we actually go to 2024, we look at the actual stats in 2024, you might see the stats are a little bit higher than 18% crit chance. We have 202% crit chance on the primary mode now. On the alternate fire modes they give you when you become Incarnon, you get 252%. So it goes from definitely 0 to hero. This is what Incarnon Genesis is. It makes old weapons become ridiculously good. So we just shoot these guys real quick. This is not a damage display video at all. So like once we get our meter charged up here underneath, we can go into Incarnon form. Gives us a new alternate fire mode with a separate ammo pool and different damage numbers and all that. So yeah, pretty powerful. Now that is an old weapon that has become revitalized with the Incarnon Genesis system. You saw the stats, you saw the red crits, got good status too. So that's the kind of baseline of what I'm hoping the other things will come to on this like kind of like top 5 more like discussion video list. So let's start with number 5. The weapon that is really one that I used to like, but is not that great anymore. I could use this Incarnon. It's the Cerberus Prime. Now, if we look at the base stats on Cerberus Prime, comparing it to the Burstin, it's actually pretty good base stats. But the main problem here is this thing is semi-auto. And semi-auto weapons, now the Burstin starts as burst mode, semi-auto, and becomes full auto. This thing is semi-auto. This is a horde shooter game, and it has no built-in punch-through. So this is a single target weapon with, you know, pretty decent stats. It's got high slash rate. You could actually use this thing on the steel path. But the problem is that it just doesn't really hold up when we're comparing it to the actual goods. So I have Cerberus Riven, what the heck? Since when? I probably bought this because I was hoping they made an Incarnon. But yeah, don't worry about the build. I'm just saying, this thing... Now let's go ahead and... I'll show you it's not used that much. Flashbang warning. Here we are on the usage stats for 2023. 0.18% of the player base uses this, okay? 0.18. Put that in perspective, I think it's one of the least popular primes in the entire game. Oh, Zouge Prime and Panthera Prime are, and also Cernos Prime are less popular. But another thing too, guys, when you're picking weapons for Incarnons, they cannot have an alt fire mode, because that Incarnon form replaces the alt fire mode. So Cerberus is just going to be a burst fire, generic, single target rifle. Don't worry about the damage, like I said. But like, yeah. No, this is me pushing clicking the button every time I shoot it. In a horde shooter game, this is just not really going to be acceptable for, you know, general gameplay. Of course, if I was to mod it properly, that guy would probably died in like 2 bullets. But yeah, I think this is one that is not used enough. It could use some revitalization. It's actually currently vaulted. And unlike this, the Latron Prime Incarnon is also single target and semi-auto, but it can actually blow stuff up. So if you were to make the Cerberus Incarnon, I don't know what you'd really do with it. You'd probably end up giving it some AoE on the Incarnon form, maybe like saw blade launcher. It has high slash rating, so that could be kind of good. Or, you know, just do what you normally do with Incarnon. Just put a fire exploding, like a fireball launcher on it and call it a day. So yeah, my number 5 on this list is Cerberus Prime. But really, there's some other, you know, I just mentioned some of the other less used ones too, like the Zouge Prime. This thing actually is AoE and has good stats, but no one's really using it. I'd say that you should be looking at weapons that just don't really get used ever. Are Prime. Now, of course, they do Prime they Incarnon non-Prime weapons, but this is a video focusing on Prime weapons. So yeah, Cerberus Prime is going to be my number 5 on the list because I think it definitely deserves a little bit more than it's currently getting. So let's move on past that. Just the generic semi-auto rifle. We're going to move on to the first pistol. And actually the pistol, you could do a lot of pistols here, but the one I'm going to go with is actually one that used to be viewed very well. And you can see it right here. 6 Forma on the Sicarus Prime. This thing used to be viewed as one that, actually it might have been viewed as the best pistol in the game at one point, if you can believe it. The ribbons for this were expensive. If you found a cheap ribbon for this, you were very lucky, and it was hitting really hard. I was actually using Eidolon Hunts, I believe, too, to shoot some lures. But yeah, nowadays we're a lot more power crept than that. So with a crit mod, I have a 71% crit chance, to compare it to we compared a good primary. Let's compare a good secondary tool. A good secondary Incarnon, the dual Toxicist, starts with 5% crit chance. When the Incarnons are applied, 118% crit chance, and the Incarnon from 147 with 103% status chance. So, yeah, let's start comparing that with a Sicarus. Because, I mean, it's the power level we're at. These are Steel Path, these are required Steel Path weapons. Rather, the Steel Path is required to get these weapons. So, with a relatively decent build, I guess, I'm missing a lot of stuff here. It's got 71% crit chance. It's a burst fire pistol. Again, it's single target, just like the Cerberus. And I think this one could definitely use some buffs as well. You know, bring it back to it being the best pistol in the game. Got nice sound effects. Got a nice reload animation. It's just not really the best stats. And like I said with the Cerberus, you can make this work. You can use this thing. But you're pretty much, you're going out of your way to use something that's not meta if you are using the Cerberus. So, again, just like the Cerberus, or the Sicarus and Cerberus, I shouldn't have picked two of them to start with S back to back, but to make the Incarnon form on this one, they could make it like a chaining beam. It depends like what artistically they want to do, but really, you have lots of options like generic burst fire pistol like this. Maybe make it like the Burstin, where it becomes a full auto situation when it goes into Incarnon form. But yeah, Sicarus Prime used to be viewed as a meta pistol. Nowadays, people forget it even exists, including me. So I think Sicarus Prime and a lot of other pistols could use a Incarnon refresh for 2024. And there will only be 5 this year, so DE, good luck picking which one you want to go with. Next one on the list, going to be the Axolotl Prime. Actually worse. It's actually probably worse than the Sicarus Prime, and I wouldn't say these were considered meta, but I actually used to use these back in the day, just because we didn't really have as many options for pistols. So these are impact-focused status pistols, and they're at least full auto. You know, it's nice that they're full auto here, but yeah, impact-focused status pistols should be enough to let you know they're not really the best. Now you can mod them for corrosive and get some armor strip in there, but these are not really heavily used. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the usage charts to see how low these last couple we've been looking at are. So the Sicarus, let's see how low that is. Flashbang warning again. So yeah, Cerberus was 0.18. Let's see what these primes are at. So down here, okay, looks like they're not way down here, so that's good. Looking for the Sicarus Prime and the Axolotl Prime. Xyloc Prime is really... Oh yeah, the Spear Prime could probably be on this list too. I did not put the Spear Prime on this list. That's because I don't really want a third throwing star weapon. But, okay, Sicarus Prime, 0.26. It's more popular than the Cerberus. But yeah, you just saw it in action right there. Not exactly an exciting weapon. And then the Axolotl Prime. Do people actually use the Axolotl Prime? I'm not seeing it on here, but I probably just scrolled past it, honestly. Realistically, it's down here with like the Vasto Prime. That's another one that could probably use an Incarnon as well. So they're just generic, single target, not meta weapons, and they're not used by anybody besides people leveling up for mastery. These are the things that can revitalize. Like, who remembered the Latron in Prime before the Incarnon came out? I hardly did. Semi-auto, no fireball launcher. So yeah, these are your Axolotl Primes. They've actually got low ribbon stats too, unfortunately. They got a nice reload animation, but yeah, these things have bad ribbons. They have bad base stats. They need some serious help. So I would say these should be a top priority for an Incarnon. And yeah, that's basically it for the Axolotl Prime. There's not much to say about these weapons because they're just not very good. Like, at least when we get like an Arcoplasmor, it's like, oh, it shoots a bouncing projectile. For this, it's just like, yeah, it shoots bullets, and they don't really do much. They don't really do much at all, yeah. All right, so let's do a rapid fire round here before I move on to the melees and the true Incarnon I want here. But let's just do a rapid fire on some of these pistols. So, big thing here, guys. I think that DE should find a way to do this. But we have a Vasto singular Incarnon, but not an Ak Vasto Incarnon. And same with things like the Furus. There's not even a Furus Prime singular, but I've renamed it. We have a Furus singular Incarnon and an Afurus Incarnon. So if DE can find a way to make the singular Incarnons apply to the multiple, that would be great. Or the Akimbo style, that would be great. But I don't think that's going to happen. So if we were just to go for individual items, I'd say, yeah, maybe Sicarus and Axolotl. But if there's a way for them to do it, like, you know, even like the Bronco, the Ak Bronco. Like, why do we have a singular Bronco Incarnon, but not an Ak Bronco Incarnon? These kinds of things are really annoying, and not to mention, some of these weapons just don't even exist. Like for the Bolto and Ak Bolto, there is no singular Bolto Prime, but there's an Ak Bolto Prime. Like, those things could get fixed too, but I'm not too worried about that right now. But yeah, as far as Incarnons, you could even make an Ak Bolto Prime Incarnon. Maybe it would make Mirage Prime Access a little bit more exciting. But yeah, let's move on to the melees. Now for melees, there's actually a lot of prime, like if I just search prime melees right here, there's a lot of prime melees that aren't really used that much. So For example, Massater Prime. Who actually uses that? Really? Like, I don't need an Incarnon on it. Just leave it be. This is like an obligation Prime weapon right here. Like, they had to make it for Grendel Prime. Like this one right here, Kogake. I mean, I think it's in the Prime Resurgence right now, so maybe you're getting it to level it up. But again, it's an impact-focused status weapon. Anything that's an impact-focused status weapon is an instant dud for me. So I don't even want to. Also, I don't want DE to even waste an Incarnon on stuff like this. Another impact-focused status weapon. Impact-focused status weapon. Impact-focused status weapon. Is this an impact-focused? This is an impact-focused crit weapon at least. But yeah. So as far as which melee Incarnons I would say that I would like the Galatine Prime. I would also like the Sindo Prime, which is a gigantic axe. I think I'd want this one the most, actually, because this has pretty low stats. It's just like pretty much lower stats in general than the Graham Prime. And also the Sindo Prime's been in the game for a long time. It's a big axe, but it uses heavy blade stances. And yeah, it's not really heavily used. Let's go ahead and see how many people use it. But, like, it would be so cool if it's got an Incarnon. I don't know what the special attack would be, but I think it would be mainly getting a stat bump as far as, you know, more crit chance, more base damage, more status chance. For the Incarnon form, maybe like an execution attack. Like you can like slice enemy in half with a special execute when you have 6x combo. I don't know. But like right now, it just kind of generic. Doesn't really do anything special. Doesn't really have the best of stats. Just looks cool. So for melees, take your pick, DE. But I'd say the Sindo Prime probably deserves it the most. But you can pick any of these forgotten Prime weapons that aren't really used that much. The Bow Prime got an Incarnon. Didn't really do a whole lot. Dual Kamas, an Incarnon for this, will maybe set it apart from the Nami Skyla Prime, which are just straight up better than them. That's like I've always been annoyed by. The Nami Skyla Prime is just better stats than Dual Kamas Prime. Probably a mastery thing, but yeah. Now that we've gone over this stuff, I want to go with my #1 choice for what needs an Incarnon. And any of you older players might remember this from the original Deviri trailer. It's the Tigris Prime Incarnon. We need this, DE. This thing actually used to be like meta back in the day. Yes, this single target, 2 in the chamber, reload every shot, shotgun was one of the best guns in the game for killing high-level enemies because we just weren't really as power crept back then. Nowadays, it's like you wouldn't catch me dead using this unless I'm in the video saying how bad it is like right now. So the way the Tigris works, you can hold on the trigger to fire 1 shell, but if you take your finger off the trigger, the second bullet fires. And after you fire those 2 bullets, reload the thing. So do that every time, and you are using the Tigris. So in a mission with a bunch of enemies, you are, of course, not going to be able to take care of a bunch of enemies with this thing, because you'll be firing off some shots, then reloading. So if we were to get an Incarnon for this, I'd definitely want it to be like a rocket launcher or something. I'd want a very, very big AoE shot, and also I'd probably want some kind of reload buff or some, like, magazine refill Incarnon, or Incarnon perk for this, because if you remember the original Deviri trailer, DE did show the Drifter holding the Tigris in the original trailer, and we never got an Incarnon, so really, a lot of players that have known this want that Incarnon real bad, including yours truly. So, my #1 most requested Incarnon Genesis for 2024 is the Tigris Incarnon, and I really hope we get it. We don't know when these new Incarnons are coming out. We do know there's 2 new Incarnon weapons that are not Genesis coming out in the Dante Unbound update, but yeah, as far as new Incarnon Genesis, I believe Rebecca said 5 new ones this year, which is going to be kind of unfortunate if we only get 5, because there's so many weapons that could use an Incarnon. And I'm just going off the Primes today. Like, I mean, you search Prime, a bunch of this stuff is just not used. Like, Incarnon here, that's great. Incarnon here, that's great. A bunch of this stuff is Incarnon, but things like Severus, like I said, you can't even give the Stradivarius Incarnon, unfortunately, even though it has not the greatest stats because of the alt fire. There's multiple alt fires on this. Same with Tenora Prime, alt fire, alt fire. Baza Prime would be a great Incarnon. You know, like, a lot of this stuff has Incarnons already, but the ones that don't really sit out like a sore thumb. And I can't get the Panthera one either because it has an alt fire. So if you guys have any of your, maybe just give me your list down in the comments down below. It was hard to pick the top 5, and also a couple of them are like a little bit cheating answers. I'm like, basically every pistol, basically every melee. Like, there's so many pistols that could use Incarnons. Like the Hiku Prime, right? The Spira Prime. I forgot the Spira Prime even existed until I saw that usage chart. So let me know what you guys think about it down below. I appreciate your support. I'll be live on stream very soon, and yeah, you guys take it easy. All right, peace.